Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, the latest round of WWE releases hits NXT in the Performance Center hard.
The real reason for those WWE releases.
And we are going to give you Brian Road Dogg James' reaction to his release.
I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
We're going to kick off today's video with a correction from yesterday's news video. We were talking about the dream signing AEW Tony Khan story. I said for some reason Z100's Josh Woods was the guy Tony was speaking to. Josh Woods is the Ring of Honor television champion. No, it was Josh Martinez. Shouts to Josh. He's a good guy.
Josh.
There's the correction. We apologise profusely. Josh Woods, the Ring of Honor television champion. Me, the WhatCulture dumbass champion. But look, we've had a lot of fun on these videos back, haven't we? We've, the banner's been flowing. We've been shaking off the rust.
Fantastic to be back.
Having fun, having a laugh, taking the piss a little bit. Nice, easy, light stories. Oh, cool, yeah. Let's release a bunch of people. We're WWE.
I genuinely had some good feeling towards WWE at the start of this year. Day one was great. I thought Raw was surprisingly decent. New Year's Eve. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a fresh start for WWE. And then last night, boom.
Yeah, so basically, if you missed this, and I don't know how you could have missed this, but if you did, WWE released a bunch of people, NXT personnel, mostly behind the scenes people, Performance Center, that kind of vibe. PW insiders Mike Johnson and Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful were kind of breaking all of this at pretty much like within minutes of each other. But basically, I'm going to give you a complete list of people who were let go. So we've got George Carroll, who was a producer, Kathy Carino, better known as Allison Danger, who was a coach, she was only with the company for 3 months when they let her go. Ryan Katz, long-standing producer and creative guy. Dave Kapoor, writer, the former Ranjin Singh. Chris Guy, who's the former Ace Steel, he was a PC coach. Sarah Cummins, who was WWE's senior vice president of consumer goods. And here's where it starts to get a bit more notable, I guess, in terms of names that you're familiar with. Hideki Hachiman Suzuki. He was, of course, in Diamond Mine. He was also a Performance Center coach. He only started in February last year as well. Moved all the way from Japan. Gone. Danny Burch, former NXT Tag Team Champion, gone. He hadn't been on TV for a while, but as per Sean Ross Sapp, he'd been working as a coach at the Performance Center. The same goes for Timothy Thatcher, another former NXT Tag Team Champion. Him and Ciampa were champions, weren't they? Have I lost my mind? Either way.
Him and Riddle were champions, weren't they?
I don't know, man. There's too much information flying around. Thatcher's gone. Same deal as Birch. He was off TV, but he was working as a coach in his time out from TV. Scott Armstrong, long-serving producer and referee, gone. Brian Road Dogg James, been in and out of WWE for 30 years or something. He's out of here. He'd been working as a producer, and perhaps the biggest name of these all, William Regal. He'd been in WWE for over 2 decades. He was, of course, the NXT general manager, but so much more than that. Officially the director of talent development and head of global recruiting. A scout for probably some of your favorite NXT wrestlers. Pretty much any big name indie star who came into WWE over the past few years through the super indie of NXT, you can attribute to him. Now, WWE have released a statement on this to PW Insider and Fightful, which reads as follows. With the continued evolution of NXT 2.0, we've decided to part ways with some of the staff based in our Performance Center. We thank them for their many contributions throughout the years and wish them all the best. I'm going to swing to you because I've just spoken for about 10 minutes straight. Hit me.
Yet again, as we often say about these, you can tell how, affecting these releases are just by the social media backlash all around it, particularly someone like William Regal. But before I talk about him, I want to talk about Danger, because I was sort of aware of her situation, and then I literally read a tweet when I woke up this morning about how she transported her entire family, and I know she's not the first or the last person probably that WWE are going to do this to, transported her entire family, struggled through the difficulty of COVID, etc., got through Christmas, etc., and then literally her kids are preparing to, fresh start to the year, new school, make new friends, etc. Boom, gets the phone call. Sorry, we're going to let you guys. Just outrageous.
It really sucks on a human level, doesn't it?
And then, William Regal, not to dismiss all the other names, they're all terrible to see these guys getting released, but William Regal in particular, just a jaw-dropping announcement for me. Like you say, I think you tweeted, in fact, I just assumed he was a lifer with WWE. Whether or not they were going to continue to have him be an on-screen character, obviously, the GM role is very different and not even really had an appearance in 2.0, but you think it's William Regal. I mean, you look at the outpouring of support, you know, even people like Dax Harwood who aren't with the company anymore tweeting, look, FTR wouldn't exist without William Regal. You can look across social media of the majority of the stars who've come through NXT just saying what a fantastic guy he is. And, you know, he I think has so much still to offer, whether as an on-screen character or just someone who the talent can turn to for advice. Astonishing that they're doing this, and coupling along with that, because I'd like to get your reaction to this in terms of why this has happened. I think that's the first thing that people automatically ask when these, you know, swathes of releases come out. Sean Ross Sapp, no crap, just Sapp, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, as Andy mentioned, broke a lot of these stories. And stated that people familiar with the Performance Center in NXT have stated that the real reason all these guys were released is to remove people hired by Triple H. This, interestingly enough as well, isn't just, well, it is pure speculation, but it hasn't been denied by the WWE officials Sean Ross Sapp spoke to either, which I think speaks volumes.
Yeah, and it was kind of echoed in their statement there as well, wasn't it?
Road Dogg obviously being released is a really obvious piece of evidence to support something like that. He's a close associate of Triple H's for a long old time. This, as they seem to be suggesting, is a clear changing of the guard. If it wasn't bad enough that they'd just completely changed, in your opinion, as to whether for better or worse, NXT. Worse. Now they've got anyone who was even associated really with Triple H in terms of backroom staff out of there. Just yet again, a baffling decision.
It's kind of like, I mean, this has kind of been the perception among people on the outside for a while, right? With the NXT 2.0 changes, they're getting rid of the super indie style and all of the things that Triple H implemented. They're out the window. Vince is coming through with his ideas. They're revamping developmental. They've changed the signing policy. 2.0 is all bright and colourful when it was like dark and dingy a little bit before. So it's kind of in line with what we've all assumed. But now we have here from Sean Ross Sapp stating that people within the company, talent and staff who've been associated and are familiar with the Performance Center, now believe that this is what is going on. It's all comes together.
What I don't get is, all right, like you say, I believe NXT needed to make changes. Sure. Not quite as drastic changes as they did, but they needed to make changes. So they've gone in this new direction. They've gone, like you say, Super Indies, PWG light, none of that bollocks anymore. We're going to just create our own stars. You look at what they called nil signings, whatever they were.
Next in line, yeah.
So they bring all those in. That's fair enough. That's what they want to do. They're going to get big guys and girls, and that's going to be their ideas going forward. Fair enough. I don't necessarily agree with that. You don't necessarily agree with that. But at least that is a definitive decision going forward.
Don't have a problem with it, yeah.
So if you're going to do that, why get rid of all the people who can make them into actually genuinely good stars? Your William Regals, your Danny Burches, your Timothy Thatchers, etc. Just naming just a few there. But the people who could shape these very green molds of clay into something that could look like a superstar for WWE, and now they just go, nah. No, you're friends with Triple H. Out you go. No matter what you can actually bring to the table here.
Yeah, I always go down to the human level of people losing their jobs in situations like this, and it's just, you feel particularly for a guy like William Regal. Brian Alvarez, I think, had the best tweet on this. He just tweeted, imagine releasing William Regal. I mean, he's got a lot of knowledge that he's going to take somewhere else, and I believe it's going to be to the company he goes to's credit. But yeah, the whole thing, you know, you've got the massive NXT transition, wherever you lie on that. It's just a shame to see people cast aside as a consequence, or in WWE's word, a consequence of, you know, changing and reevaluating the goals. I have no problem with them recruiting like non-wrestlers and stuff and trying to build them up. Some of the best wrestlers of all time have come from that route. So it's not really, that's not a massive problem. And I don't think that the super indie format was really working for NXT anymore, particularly when they started going head to head. So they did need to make some changes. Do those changes need to involve, I don't know, how many people we named here, like 12 losing their jobs? It is what it is. We'll give you one reaction here to a release. It's from Road Dogg, who was one of the most surprising because of his association with Triple H. because his associations with WWE and his latest run kicked off all the way back in 2011, so he's been on the go for a while here as a producer. Wrestling Inc. have kind of given them a hat tip for this, but there's a quote here from him on social media saying, "Guys, I'm doing well and I thank you for the love. I'm going to take a few days for myself and process this. God is still on the throne and will provide. It's just business." So he seems to have taken that relatively well. Yeah, man, it's just a sucky situation, and I don't really have much more to add, really.
Just best of luck, as we always say with these releases, if you can, if you want to, do go and support them in whatever way you possibly can. Best of luck to them, and with many of them, I sincerely doubt we need to be concerned, but I do hope that they get employment elsewhere, because they are sensationally talented and still have a great deal to offer. That danger thing just keeps repeating on me, mate.
It's really cruel, really cruel. And the Suzuki one as well.
Yeah.
Moves all the way
Literally,
from Japan.
he was on New Year's Eve, wasn't he? He was there going...
Yeah. He was on TV like 12 hours before. Numbers on the spreadsheet. That's what these people
There
are.
you go,
So,
right. Let us know your thoughts, of course, in the comment section below. We'll move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, if you want to get in touch with us. Pickleless Tim starts us off today, Andy.
Okay.
Tim writes, Wardlow is turning face next week, isn't he? Wardlow, by the way, facing CM Punk on AEW Dynamite next week. And Pickleless Tim suggests MJF is going to hit Wardlow during his match with CM Punk, so Punk will lose, and Wardlow is going to beat up MJF. Is it going to happen that soon for you?
Nah.
I
think the face turn's definitely coming, right? And I think you're on the right track, but I think it'll take a while longer. I think Punk's going to go over Wardlow, because that just seems like a more natural way for him to step up and face MJF. MJF can't hide behind anyone else. Who's he got? Sean Spears and his carrot. So I think that's a bit more likely. I think that when Wardlow loses, he will get chastised and ripped and torn apart verbally by MJF. That'll lead to more tension. That'll lead to Wardlow being more pissed off, and that will lead to a future turn. I think the turn will happen after we get Punk versus MJF.
I agree. And in terms of the whole AEW Dynamite story, i.e. everything that happened last night, you're wondering why on earth aren't they reporting on that? We will be. We're doing a second news video later on today, so if you're wondering why we're not talking about Rey Fenix's awful injury, of course, or all the title stuff, we will get to that in a news video later on today. Sticking with the stories we talked about today, or now I should say, Andy, Luke Weller says, "Hello Andy Murray and Adam Wilborn, hope all is good. With the news of Regal, Road Dogg and many of the old guard of NXT leaving or being released, do you see Triple H being let go or leaving? And is the future of him being head honcho becoming more of a pipe dream?"
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, this. It's really tough. I think that I can't see a future in which Triple H is fired by Vince McMahon. No. Son-in-law, and you hear all the reports about falling out of favor and stuff, but he still has stock, he's still an executive, I as much as they're going out of their way to kind of erase a lot of what he did with NXT, that seems like a bridge too far for me, and I hope he doesn't get released, because anyone losing their job sucks, and the guy's had a really crap year as well with his health issues and everything else. What was I've missed the second part.
Is the chance of him ever becoming head honcho becoming more and more of a pipe dream?
Happening. It's never happening. Never ever. I think it's been a pipe dream for a while, but particularly since Nick Khan has come in is this position of power that he's grown in, Triple H has never taken over WWE. Not a chance.
Yeah, it's morbidly fascinating, I think is the right terminology, because I don't like to see, people being cannon fodder, being, innocent bystanders for all this stuff that's going on. Yeah. But this scrap for the throne with, it's fair to, you could probably include people like, John Laurinaitis and, Bruce Pritchard and people like that in there.
Probably various Disney and MCU people.
There is no way that people are like, oh, okay, cool, so it's Vince, and then when Vince steps away or the worst should happen to him, never you'd ever wish that on anyone, then X will take over. I don't think people are just sitting there going, oh, okay, well, I'm, third or fourth in line. They're always scratching and clawing, and I don't see it either anymore. I think if you'd have asked me a couple of years ago, I'd have gone, yeah, probably. Yeah. He'll probably be given the reins, but now...
He seemed like the guy, him and Steph, it seemed like the obvious succession plan, but now... Yeah, I'm with you.
But we'll keep you posted on any developments as and when we find out about them. Final question today comes from Sketch2K. Thought I'd spring this one on you. You've not heard this one in advance.
Is this some hot bollocks?
It's not. It's just a very interesting take. Sketch2K writes, between WWE and AEW, which company has the better looking titles?
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna get crap for this, but I honestly think a lot of the WWE titles look like kids' toys.
24/7 Championship's hideous. It might be the deal breaker for me.
But
I love some of them.
Even like the Universal and the WWE title, they're just so basic, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's some nice like details on the logo and like some nice gems and things, but for me, I like that old school, rich, detailed, extravagant title look, you know, with the complete plates and everything else. Gonna get called biased, but you know what? I don't care because I have preferences, and my preferences are for the AEW titles.
Yeah, I think if you maybe slim it down to what's got the better looking titles, AEW or NXT, that's a closer debate for something like this. Because I love the North American Championship, which I think is an absolutely
really
gorgeous belt. And yeah, it's and it's certainly a while back when AEW had that sort of. It wasn't an interim title, but the interim TNT title when we were all like, oh.
It was like a watch.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
I think AEW just edge it, but, you know, in this ever-changing world, companies love changing belts, and a lot of times, not for the better. Hello to you, New Japan. Let's move on to today's and finally.
What are you talking about? They brought back the Divas title.
All right, let's move on to today's and finally. We needed a bit of cheering up today, and once again, it comes from the brilliant Chad Gable on social media. He tweeted about them getting prepared for the Arcade. What are they called? The Arcade Bro. I was about to call them the Arcade Bronament. That was their tournament.
The Arcade Boners.
And Chad Gable tweeted, "Can't RKO something that isn't there?" He did a photo of himself and the tree trunk that is Otis training their necks, okay? Match-specific training for the Academy in the Shack to become, get ready for this, Andy Murray, Team No Necks.
Quality. I love little pieces like this, man. It's good banter.
So they're probably going to be called Team No Necks by next week during judging WWE.
I once saw a match, I think it was in PWG, and it was Jeff Cobb versus someone. And if you've ever seen Jeff Cobb,
Love him, but
he's a beast. I think it was against Chris Hero, actually, and he got hit with a move right on his neck, and he popped straight up, and whoever he was facing was shocked, and he just pointed to it and went, "I have no neck." What are you doing hitting suplexes on the guy with no neck? You can't do it. Chad Gable's a smart man.
Smart guy. Right, let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As I mentioned, we'll be back later on today with a second news video. And you can subscribe to What Culture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from. For daily wrestling podcasts, we'll be reviewing AEW Dynamite, and let's be honest, probably sitting down to have a chat about all these stories that we've just reported on. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H today stands for hey, see you in the afternoon.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.